Good morning, everybody. Hey, I'm here from the pool. Uh-oh. Now I'm going to do that thing that always annoys people when you turn the camera and see if it's better this way. I can't do it while I'm recording. Okay, hold on. We'll just do it this way. You guys can live with it, right? All right, so I haven't done the lives on my phone that much, so hopefully I can see your comments. You guys just jump in and say good morning when you're ready. I just have been enjoying these mornings at the pool, and I wanted to share it with you today. So that's the good thing about doing your own thing, right? Is you have the freedom and the ability to work where you want and do things your way. So, all right, I'm gonna open up my notes real quick so we can get started. You guys pop in and say hey, so I know who is here today. And hopefully I can see your comments. And if I ignore you, it's probably just because I'm not seeing it, not because I'm trying to ignore you. And know that I love you and I'm glad that you're here. So, how am I going to do this since I don't have it? Okay, I'm just going to do my paper notes and it's going to be great. All right, so what we're talking about today, I don't want to spend too much more time here getting warmed up. What we're going to talk about today is this word that the Lord gave me on PACE, P-A-C-E. And this is something he gave me more of a prophetic word a few months ago on picking up the pace. I can't say that I've thoroughly embraced it because I think I'm still going a little slow when it comes to the pace of my business and some things that I really want to see moving forward. But then this last week, he gave me a little bit more of a teaching that I kind of wanted to share, and I think it'll be really helpful. So I think the first thing, I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions. And you can jot this down in your journal or put it in the comments. And you guys, if I'm not responding to comments, can you all just respond to one another so no one feels ignored or like we're not seeing you, because I am seeing you, I'm just not seeing you. And I'll go back later and make sure to chat with all the comments too, or questions that you guys have. So here's the first question is there something in your business or your life that you feel like you're not making the progress that you want to make? Or maybe things are going slower than you want them to go, or you're just not getting any momentum, like you're trying a bunch of things and you don't seem to get traction. So maybe it's just your business in general. Maybe you're writing a book, maybe you're trying to launch a podcast, or whatever it is. So I want you to just think about that thing and maybe jot that down. Like, where is it that you feel like you don't have the momentum that you want right now? And that's kind of, I want you to have that in the back of your mind as I'm sharing today. So one of the things that popped into my head when this is so funny, I was working on my notes this morning, just kind of polishing up, hold on. And, I was thinking about when you get high centered in a car, and there's a place in Lincoln, my hometown, Lincoln, Nebraska, where every time I drive by it on this one street, I remember in this parking lot where had been at a friend's house, and I was pulling out in my car and I drove forward instead of backing out, and I forgot there was a cement, parking thing there, and my car got high centered and my wheels were no longer touching the ground and I was stuck. And of course it's probably 10:30 at night. And I had to call one of my parents to come and help me get off. And I was just so embarrassed. And so that's kind of that place. You can get high centered and you're just stuck and you can't get your wheels down and you have to call for help, right? So then that reminded me of when I got that car when I was 16. So we're going to just do a little story here for you guys, because I think it ties in really well with this topic. When I was 16, my dad agreed to buy me a car, and he had a certain budget in mind. And so we went to the car dealership, and he had 2 cars picked out, and then I got to choose from those 2 vehicles. And of course, I'm a 16-year-old girl, thinking I'm cool as all that. So we went in, and the first one was a little blue Vega, little hatchback Vega. And the only thing I noticed about this car was it had plaid seat covers. And there was no way I was driving a car with plaid seat covers. Forget it. It was already off. All right, Janelle. It was already off. I was not going to get anything that ugly. And then the other one was a little Mustang GT, and Janelle will remember my little Mustang because she was one of my closest friends at the time, and we used to drive around in that little car and get in all kinds of trouble. So anyway, I wanted the Mustang. It was kind of a rust color, had cute little racing stripes, had a little hatchback. I think it was called a GT hatchback or something. I don't remember, 1976, pretty hot car. The only problem with that car is it was a 5-speed, and I had never driven a clutch. Okay, never driven a stick shift before, never used a clutch. But I was going to have that car, even though I couldn't drive it off the lot because I didn't know how to drive it. Okay, so so I get this car, somehow we get it home, and I start driving it, thinking I'll just learn as I go. And I'm not kidding, weeks. I would get stuck at every intersection. There was one intersection on the way home from church that was such a steep hill, and literally I would rest on the guy's bumper through several lights, right, before I could finally get it in gear and get it moving. And then it was just, I mean, pulling out into traffic, and I've got a group of people in my car. I'm thinking I could kill us all here. So finally, I think this is a really good story for us, because some of us have businesses that we've started and we just can't seem to get it in gear, right? We can't find first gear, maybe we can't find fourth gear, whatever it is, or we're high centered somewhere. And God's given us this vehicle, but we just don't have everything quite clicking, right? We don't have the balance between the clutch and the gas and, you know, all of that, or when to put it neutral. And I don't want to take the car analogy too far, but I thought it was really pertinent for today. And so finally, the guy I was dating, smart kid, said, you're not going to drive this car anymore until you learn how to drive it. And he took me to a parking lot and taught me how to use it. And we practiced until I got it down. And so maybe that's where you are, like you've been trying to get, you know, things rolling and you just don't have any traction. And you might need some help. Maybe you need somebody to come alongside you. That's why I'm here. Okay, that's why I'm here. So I'm going to tell you about a couple opportunities that we could work together later in this live. But anyway, so let's move on. I want to ask you 4 questions. Okay. So when you think about PACE, we're actually going to do a little teaching on PACE. So for those of you who are organized, you probably want to write that down. So we're really going to try to talk about and dig into what is slowing you down in your business. Okay, what is keeping you from making the progress that you want to be making and getting momentum actually? Like me, finally being able to just like pull out into traffic and keep moving and not be terrified or afraid I'm going to kill someone. Like I can handle this machine. I know what I'm doing. So the first P is purpose. Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask you is, how clear are you on your purpose? Okay, so do you know what your purpose is for this thing that you feel like maybe it's your podcast and you just know you want a podcast, but do you really understand why you want a podcast? And when I think about purpose, the words I like to remember are, what is it that you want to do? Who do you want to help with it? And why do you want it? Okay, you notice I didn't say how are you going to do it, because purpose isn't necessarily how. And often we spend so much time spinning on the how am I going to do this, how am I going to do this, that we don't really know why we're doing it and who we're trying to help and what it is that we're doing. And I hear this, I've probably said this before, I hear this all the time of women that like, I want to write a book. That's what I'm called to do. Well, what's the purpose? Well, I want to, you know, have a book. Well, the purpose has to be more than that. Like the purpose has to be, what is it that you want to accomplish with that book? The book is the how, right? So you want to know, what do I feel called to do? What is my purpose? Who do I want to help? And why do I want to do this? Okay. And I can help you dig into that. In fact, Saturday, I'm doing a goal session. I think I called it a Saturday goal seminar. I think I actually just changed the name to Pace, Grace, and Goals. So we're going to talk a little more about PACE, but I'm also going to talk about how do we set goals and how do we make sure our goals are aligned with our purpose. So it's a free thing. You can find the link in my group or on my page, or I can send it to you. You just have to sign up on Zoom, because I'm not doing it within Facebook Live. I'm actually doing it on Zoom, just to do a little differently. All right, so the first question is, how clear are you on your purpose? Okay, do you know your purpose? Can you say it in one clear, concise statement? Then focus on your purpose. Are you praying about it? Are you thinking, talking, and writing about and dreaming about your purpose? And then are you sharing that purpose, and are you doing it? Like the goal is we want to be doing our purpose, right? So the first one is intended purpose. So that's our first shift that we want to make. So we're going to get in first gear, I guess. So the first shift is know the intended purpose of what it is that you want to be doing. Because God has an intention. He has a purpose for the thing that you feel in your heart that you want to do. And so staying in alignment with his intention is really, really important, because if we lose track of that and we start chasing other things or doing all these things that we think we should be doing, then we can lose clarity and we can lose traction really, really quickly. That's when you start spinning out when you're just doing the things, but you're not really remembering why you're doing the things or what the goal of those things is. All right, so number 2, the next question I want to ask you is, are you forcing it or are you in the flow? And this is something I like to think about a lot, because there is an ease and a flow that we can be in creatively. If you're a creative person, you get that. Like when it's time to create something, you can sit down and try to squeeze it out, you know, like an apple tree trying to grow an apple. Or you can just let it happen naturally and be in the flow. And what I call that is inspired action. Okay, so there's your A. So the second shift is learn to take inspired action. Now, I'm trying to remember what question I just asked you. Are you forcing or are you in the flow? Are you pressing, pushing, or doing things that you just feel you should be doing, but they aren't necessarily in line with what feels good to you? And this is really important because I see this a lot in the business world, especially for women, because we can get really influenced by other women and think, oh, well, if that worked for her, then I should be doing it just the way she did it. And I'm so guilty of this. It's actually embarrassing how guilty I am of this, because I can hear one person does one thing and the next day I think, oh, I've got to start doing that. Like whatever that thing is, they get up at a certain time, or they get up later, or, you know, they don't ever watch TV, and then the next person watches TV. And so it's like I have all these little ideas of what I should be doing. And the other thing is some strategies that you hear about, or you go to a boot camp and you listen to all the things that they're supposed to be doing, and then all of a sudden you put all this pressure on yourself because you've got to do these 10 things by 10 o'clock in the morning, and if you don't get them all done, then you feel like a failure. And so it's really important for you to ask yourself, okay, what in this feels good and true and right for me and my business? Because you are the CEO of your business, right? You are the helm, at the head of the helm of your ministry or whatever it is that you're working on. And so you get to decide how you do that business. There is no, you have to do it this way to be successful. There is no, you have to do these 3 things all the time. I mean, you do have to connect with people, right? You do have to have genuine relationships with people. You do need to offer a service or value to people, and you need to follow through and deliver that service. Like those are the things you really have to do, right? But beyond that, like the way you get there, there's a million different ways, and a lot of them can be true, and a lot of them can work for people but not work for you. And so I think it's really important that you learn what is inspired action for you. And I've heard lots of different stories where someone will just decide they want to get out of the house and go have coffee, and they run into just the right person. Or they're frustrated and they go for a drive, and God leads them just right to the right place to show them what's next. And it's listening to those little nudges, those little, I wasn't saying niggles, you know, wiggles inside. I don't know what to call it. And you feel like, oh, I feel like I just want to do this thing today. And then you follow that, and it leads you to something, a moment of clarity or a new connection or an opportunity. And if you get too stuck with, oh, I have to do this schedule today, I have to do these 10 things, I have to keep my head down and work hard and hustle, then you can sometimes miss those other opportunities that come up. And so taking a step back, taking the pressure off, taking a deep breath, and just saying, okay, Lord, your agenda today, your agenda, what do you have for me today? And then just be willing to be led in that. And I'm trying to remember, it was something, what was it recently? Oh, this is silly. I'm trying to give up coffee. And so one day I don't even know where I was, and I saw matcha in the store. And I thought, I want to try matcha. Like, I really think matcha sounds great. And I literally was like, there was no stopping until I had matcha. I bought it on Amazon. They shipped it the next day. And the day after, I started drinking matcha instead of coffee. And it's working wonderfully. Like, I'm still having coffee once in a while, but it has really replaced the need. And I'm feeling so much better. So where did that idea come from? That all of a sudden, I have to have matcha like right now. I have no idea. I call that an inspired action that felt right for me to take, and I followed it. I could have talked myself out of it, like so why is that so silly? But yet, it was something that worked for me. And I think in our businesses and in just the things that we're working on, whatever our goals are, God wants to lead us that way. He wants to take us to the right places and the right people. And one of my favorite verses is Matthew 11:28 through 31, I think it is. where Jesus says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And if you read it in the Message or in the Passion Translation, it's phenomenal. But one of the phrases is, learn the unforced rhythms of grace. And so I believe that in life, there is an unforced rhythm of grace that we can learn to operate in. And that is what I call this inspired action. It's where you just begin to know, oh, okay, this is what's right for me in this situation. And it doesn't mean that you don't ever just do hard work or you don't just check, tasks off a list. Of course, we always do that. But there are times where we just have to kind of trust that instinct inside and say, okay, I feel like I know this person has told me XYZ is the way to go, but I'm feeling like I should be doing, EFG. And so I'm going to do that and dump that other thing. And that can be hard because it's risky when you're trusting yourself and you're doing what you feel is right for you, especially if you don't necessarily see someone else doing it. So I feel like I'm not really clear on this one, but there is a place where you can just be more in a flow as opposed to forcing things. And that's where that ease and that peace, it says in the word that you will follow peace and be led forth with joy. Well, are we choosing to do the things that bring peace? Are we choosing to do the things that bring joy? Because those are ways that God directs us. And so if something feels fun, like coming to the pool every morning at 8 o'clock so that you can do your work in the beautiful sunshine and get some vitamin D and not be in the house all the time, then do it. Do it, because that brings you joy, and that joy is going to translate into the energy that you bring. It's going to make you more excited to connect with people. There's a whole reason why, or a whole list of reasons why following peace and joy is so helpful in your business. So, all right. So number 3, so we did intended purpose, God's intended purpose for this thing, and the inspired action that you should be taking. And then the next one is C, are you taking enough risks and daring big action? Okay, so sometimes we can get stuck because we're just playing it safe. Sorry to be blunt, but sometimes we're not making progress because we're not trying anything new, or we're not getting outside of our comfort zone. Because the reality is, if you're just living inside your comfort zone, you're not going to grow beyond that. And so what you have is what you're going to have, right? I mean, if this is what you always do, then this is what you're always going to have. And that's just like a principle of life. Sorry if that's news to you, but it is. Oh, hey, Shelby, you're just fine. So, I mean, here's the news. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to have what you have. So if you want something different, you may need to look outside of that a little bit. You may need to start doing Facebook Lives. You may need to talk to someone about your podcast. You may need to ask someone to help you with your social media. You may need to hire a coach. You need to work with a coach. I mean, that is the bottom line. That is a very daring, risky action to invest in a coach, to invest in the resources and the wisdom that will come alongside you and help you get off, that high-centered place. But it's necessary. I have never worked with a coach who hasn't also worked with a coach. I have not read really any stories of people who are successful and financially secure, spiritual, I don't want to say giants, but, people who I respect and admire. And they always have strong support groups and coaches and mentors around them. And so if maybe you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time and you're not making progress, but you've never invited someone into that space with you, maybe that's what you need, right? Maybe the time is now to say, okay, I'm actually believing myself enough to invest money. Yes, it takes money. Let's all deal with that. It takes money to invest. I mean, I've invested in 3 different major coaching programs in the last 3 years, and I never had the money for one. But yet, I felt peace and joy about it, and God has provided. And I'm telling you, you just grow so much, and you go so much farther when you have that accountability and just that relationship of someone to look up to who can is a little farther along and can just pull you forward. So, are you taking enough risks and daring big action? Or are you letting fear and doubt run the show? Okay, because if you're just living in fear, afraid to take any big steps, that could be part of the reason that you're stuck and not moving forward. So when you think about, so the word, sorry, I don't have my written notes that were so nice, and I'm using my notebook. So the C is courage. And so this is insistent and persistent courage. Okay, so this means there's times we're going to have to do things that scare us. We're going to have to do it while we're scared. We are going to take risks and things that feel weird or maybe foolish. I was just praying on my walk today. One of my favorite verses is that the Lord uses the weak and the foolish things to shame the wise. So guess what? He wants to use those things that make us feel foolish or make us feel like, oh my gosh, it couldn't be me. I couldn't take that big step because I might look silly. Well, that might be the very thing God wants to use to take you to that next breakthrough. You have no idea. So it's good to just like lean into those things that scare you. And I promise if you do even small things that scare you, the next ones get easier. So just push into those. It's not pressing. Okay. It's not the forcing, but it is taking those steps. Those inspired actions sometimes scare you, which is why a lot of times we don't do them, right? It would be easier for me to just keep pouring cups of coffee every day, but I know that that's not necessarily what's great for my body. So I'm trying to make that shift. And it is hard because I love my caffeinated brain. Like, I'm so creative. And so there's a scary part of me that's like, what will I be without my coffee? That is so silly, but you guys know me, so you get it. All right. So when it comes to having insistent and persistent courage, sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable. I actually did a live on this a few months ago, so you could look that up. It's called Get Comfortable Being Uncomfortable, because that's the truth. It's growth is uncomfortable. It's one uncomfortable step after another, because once you take that step, you get comfortable with it, right? It's like that next level of risk. You get comfortable and you move forward. And so that's just part of it. Embrace the process, embrace the chaos. Don't let failure, messes, or mistakes keep you from moving forward. And so the last thing I was thinking about too with this, be more daring, take daring risks, is this idea of risk versus reward. We talk about this a lot. My husband, that's his favorite thing. We have to weigh every risk against the possible reward. And I think that's helpful to some extent. However, if we end up focusing too much on the risk and not enough on the reward, then we're missing out. Okay. So in this moment, like the purpose of what we're doing, the people we're called to help, right? The place that we're called to go, that is the reward. And so it's really important that we don't focus on the risk of what it's going to cost you and how scary it might be, but we actually focus on the reward of where we're going. And we can't judge the reward in the natural, right? We have to judge the reward in the spiritual and in the eternal impact that we're going to have on people's lives by the things that we're called to do. Because God wouldn't call us to do things if they didn't actually have eternal value, right? I mean, we'd just be wasting our time. So the C is have insistent, persistent courage. Okay, so we have intended purpose, we have inspired action, which will take insistent and persistent courage, which means consistently showing up, consistently doing the hard things, consistently challenging yourself to do the next thing that makes you uncomfortable. Maybe one of you is supposed to do Facebook Lives. Like maybe somebody watching, it's time to do a Zoom webinar. Maybe it's time to get your blog launched and actually tell people you can read my stuff here. Like there are small steps that are very, very scary. And not taking those small steps is exactly why you're not making progress or moving at the pace that you could be moving at. Okay. And I'm telling you, and I've been a scared little person, a long, long time. That's why I'm 56 years old and I'm just now talking to you, right? Because I have allowed myself to stay in a little bubble where I could be comfortable and, comforted and not have to do scary stuff. So here I am doing scary stuff. So I've had neighbors walking by. I'm thinking they probably think I'm crazy, but here I am. So you can see my pool and see where I'm spending my mornings every morning because it's summer and it's gorgeous. So why wouldn't I do it? All right, moving on. See how distracted I get at the pool. All right. So number 4, we're on number 4. So here's the question I have for you. Are you doing the best things every day and living in a high energy, high vibe state? Okay. Are you doing the best things every day that put you in a positive, energetic state? Because you could be doing all the other things and taking steps and taking risks and doing what is inspired action for you, but doing it from a place of negativity, doing it from a place of low energy, or maybe fear. You do it, but you just don't ever believe have a great expectation that something's going to come out of it. Maybe you kind of do it and then you complain and you're not really in a place of gratitude for the opportunity. It's more like, oh, I guess I'll just do this now. And that energy slows us down. Okay. So there is a place of, it's like the caffeinated state, right? Which is part of the reason I need to still have some caffeine in my life, because I want to be in a high vibe place. Okay. I want to live from a state of high energy and positivity, because that attracts the same thing to you. Okay. So if you are just kind of mumbling through your day and doing the things, but nothing's happening, you may want to just stop for a minute and say, okay, what energy am I bringing to what I'm doing? And so this one is intentional energy. Okay. So number 4 for PACE, intentional energy. And this is when you actually decide how you're going to show up. Okay. This is you waking up in the morning and not saying, oh, how do I feel? And I'm going to say this. This is not condemning. I struggle with this every day. You can ask my coach. In fact, we were on the call. You could ask Shelby, because she was on the call on Monday where I was just whining my little head off because I just didn't feel like it and I didn't get myself in the right space. But you know what? Guess what? Tuesday I got up and I got my crap together. And today I showed up and here I am. I'm excited. I spent a lot of time in my journal. I spent a lot of time just thinking about like, what is it that I really want and how do I want to help you? And I'm excited about what I get to do. And so I just want to say that I'm not coming from a space of I always have it together. I don't. But I have to make the choice every day. Every day you make the choice. How am I going to show up? And I think often we think, I switch arms here. Often we think that it's the circumstances that decide how we're going to show up, or it's like whatever happens, or it's our emotions or our hormones or whatever. Let's not talk about hormones right now. But we think those are the things that decide how we show up and what energy we bring. And that's actually not true. Like it's our decision, because what we think determines how we feel, and how we feel determines our energy level. And I'm thinking about this. I mean, Joyce Meyer used to talk about this a lot, and she'd be like, you could be laying around feeling sorry for yourself, but if the doorbell rings, and let's say it's somebody, a neighbor that you want to hang out with, or your pastor. I've never had a pastor just stop by my house, but if somebody that rings the doorbell, how do you show up when you answer the door? Like, you can change your energy just like that. You can make the choice. And so you can show up for yourself the same way. You can show up for your people the same way. You can show up for your blog or your podcast the same way, with this energetic state that's excited. I have a saying that I try to say every morning is, I'm excited and energetic. I'm excited and energetic about the things I get to do today to move my business forward. I wake up excited every day. Every day I wake up excited and ready to go. Now, obviously it doesn't always work, but that's the mindset I try to have. So everybody with me, give me a little love so I can know that you're still tracking. All right. So are you doing the best things every day and living in a high energy, high vibe state? Are you being intentional about your energy level? And so this does mean, like, what things can you do? We all know things that bring us down, right? We know what things bring us down. And so how do we adjust for those moments where we are feeling more down? Like, what things do we need to have in place? I think having a good morning routine is helpful. A good morning routine is good. Make sure you're reading positive books every day, listening to podcasts every day, listening to high energy music. I didn't today. Today was a little weird because I took a shower. I don't normally have a shower in my morning routine, but I did take a shower this morning, and normally I have at least 30 minutes of my morning mix. I have a morning mix and I have a morning dance party mix. And then I have one called Praise Party. I think that's just a Spotify list you could find, Praise Party. And it's all this super upbeat praise music. I love it, love it, love it. And I turn it on and I just let myself get soaked up in the energy of that, because that's the energy and the vibe I want to bring to what I'm doing. So I need to be putting that in so that I can be bringing that out, right? So praise and worship, prayer, listening to good things, eating good things. Actually, what we eat affects our energy. Shocking. So on the days when I give in and have coffee and donuts, guess what? My energy does not last throughout the day. And by the afternoon, I am lazing on the couch thinking, well, I think I'll probably just watch Netflix for the rest of the day, instead of staying in a high vibe state where I could be actually being productive. Nothing wrong with watching Netflix at the end of the day if you're tired. I have no problem. But anyway, so your food, your habits, your thoughts, and the people you hang out with affect your energy. And so if there are people in your life that every time you are done with them, you feel like you have to recover your mindset, you may want to limit that. Like you may want to change that or control that, how much access they have to you, right? Because those people could be pulling your energy down, and that's not bringing your best energy, your best self to the people who deserve it, which are the people that you're called to help and to serve, right? And your family and those you're in relationship with. So being around the right people, it's also why coaching is so powerful. And I am going to mention this now, you guys, because I'm really excited. I'm launching in September. I can let you guys in now, but I'm launching in September my private Facebook group. And I know we have one group, but this is like the next level private. Okay. This is the Fierce and Focused Society. And this is for women who are ready for accountability. They are ready to be in a group that's going to lift them up and help them go forward. They're not just kidding around with their calling anymore. Like they are ready to be getting the traction and creating the momentum in their business. So it's the Fierce and Focused, is that right? Fierce and Focused Society. And it is live. So if you want in, let me know. I can send you the info. It's $47 a month. So it's super manageable. It's a great first step if you haven't invested in coaching before, because it's nice and manageable. It won't break the bank, but it will get you into that next level place of connecting with women and connecting with me so that I can be speaking into you and your business and I can get to know you a little better. And I think it'll make a huge shift for you. At this time next year, you'll be amazed just by taking that one little step. So anyway, not a sales pitch, but I did want you to know that opportunity. I'm very excited because I'm just launching that, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to meet with some women and get to know some women a little bit more one-on-one, and like let's be inner circle, buddies. All right, so intentional energy is number 4. So you want to be shifting your energy from negative to positive whenever possible. You want to shift your energy from passive to active whenever possible. And you want to shift your energy from living in the past to thinking about the future whenever possible. Okay, it's really important that we create activity and energy on a daily basis. And sometimes I know we just think we're absorbing, or we're thinking, or we're not quite ready for the next step. And so we just sort of sit. And that creates this inertia in our businesses and just really in life. And it doesn't move us forward. It is definitely the high centered, like my little Mustang on that parking thing, man. You cannot get off of that once you get stuck there. And so if that's where you are, just take a step today. Just do something today. Call a friend and say, hey, would you pray with me about my business? Would you pray with me about my book? Put a post on your Facebook page. Hey, you guys, I'm feeling stuck. What tips can you give me today? What encouragement could you give me today? Or reach out to me. DM me. Let's get on a phone call. I'll give you a breakthrough call for an hour, and let's just see, how much of a change that can make when you just reach out and say, I'm taking one small step today to move forward. Because that action creates energy. Okay. Action creates energy, and then it just creates more and more and more. And pretty soon things are just floating along. So anyway, I think that's really what I wanted to share today. So I hope that's helpful. I'll go through them again real quick. And of course, this will be recorded, and I'll put it in the group. Oops, lost me for a minute. I'll put it in the group so you can go back through and answer all those questions. So you think about pace. You need to be focused on your intended purpose, God's intended purpose for you. Okay, you need to be taking inspired action, not just doing the things you think you should be doing, but actually what is inspired for you to do? What is inspiring you, and what is the right thing for you to do next? And then the next one is insistent and persistent courage. So that's always doing those things, or being willing to do those things that scare us and that are beyond our comfort zone. And then the last one is intentional energy. How are you going to create the energy that will take you forward? Because if your car is just sitting there, like me, if I can't get it in first gear, I'm not going anywhere. I can tell you firsthand. And Janelle can attest how many times we got stuck places because I couldn't get it in first gear. And so you don't want to be stuck. You want to be stuck in neutral, right? You don't want to be stuck in neutral, because the reality is, if you're in neutral, you're probably sliding backwards, like me on that hill. You're not just idling. You are going backwards. And so we don't want to be in neutral. We want to be moving forward. We want to be picking up the pace. We want to be going after everything that God has for us. So the last thing I want to do, actually, I don't think I can, because I'm afraid if I go to open my notes on my phone that I'm going to lose you. So I don't want to try that. But I have a prophetic word that the Lord gave me. Like I said, it's called Pick Up the Pace. And it was just an encouragement from him to just like, hey, run the race. Girl, it's time for you to run the race. You've got what you need. It's on you to set the pace, because so I'll just end with this actually, because I'll send you a link and you guys can read that and really pray through that and hear the Father talking to you in that. But what I want to say is, it really is up to us, the pace that we run at. And I know this is hard sometimes to believe, because we think circumstances, or we think people, or we think lack of resources or opportunity, that those are the things that are slowing us down. But in reality, we're the ones, most likely, most times, I'll talk for myself, I was the one slowing me down. And I think I told you guys all this, that when I was trying to go into my first coaching thing, and it was a big chunk of change, and I was like, I've never spent that kind of money on myself before, never ever. And it was just to invest in coaching. I mean, that was just like crazy. And I was talking to the Lord, and I'm like, I don't know, Lord, should I do this? And very clearly he said, oh, I'm sorry, did you think you were waiting on me? I thought I was waiting on you. So are you going to take a step or not? And I was like, okay, busy, I'll sign up right now. I look busy, right? And it just made me realize that all of the feet dragging and all of the slowing myself down was just me. It wasn't God holding me back. It wasn't him saying, oh, when everything is just perfectly positioned, I'll, click a little button and then Sue can go into action. That's not what he's doing with you either. He's letting you set the pace. And so when you're willing to step out of that comfort zone, man, he's ready. He's ready to go to the next step with you. He's ready to go to the next level with you. And it's up to us to say, okay, I'm willing. I'm willing to surrender my fear. I'm willing to surrender my comfort. God, let's do this thing. Let's do this thing, because I know that the plan you have for me, the purpose, I'm getting riled up here. The purpose you have for me and the people that you have for me to help are more important than my comfort. They are more important than me looking foolish. Okay, than me risking doing a live at the pool and thinking it may, oh, now here come the garbage men, it might be too loud, whatever it is. Those people and my purpose are more important than all of that. And I know you guys feel that way. So I hope this is encouraging today. I hope that it helps you to look at some things and maybe think, I need to pick up the pace, because maybe it's me that needs to just realign a little and shift into gear. So make those 4 shifts. And then I did put at the very end of my notes here that I want you to think of one thing in each of those sections. So intended purpose, inspired action, insistent, persistent courage, and intentional energy. Go through each of those and pick one thing that you can do from your notes as you were thinking about this, one thing that you could do starting today to take a step, to take these shifts and to move forward. Okay. So you guys agree to do that? Give me a like, give me a heart that you're going to agree to do that. Okay. This is perfect timing, because Anna just got here to come to the pool. I live in this kind of older neighborhood, and so the old ladies come and they do their water aerobics in the morning, and it's so fun. It's just fun to be here. But anyway, so I'll finish up. But I do want to remind you, you can join my Fierce and Focused Inner Circle group, $47 a month. You can start now. We're launching in September, but you guys can get in soon. And also I am offering one-on-one coaching, which I haven't done. I did a group mastermind in March, and I'll be doing another one of those in September. So you could do that. That's a 7-week mastermind, or you can just work with me for 6 months, and I will come alongside you and we will hear God together and we will get this thing rolling. So, all right, guys, I'm going to run because I know that I'm a mile a minute, but I hope you guys have a great day. Get outside.